Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Health Ministry worried over high rate of hospitalizations and infections. Southern Regional Health Authority reporting a decline in COVID cases. Later in sports, Reggae Boys suffered a third loss in CONCACAF World Cup qualifier. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. Despite best efforts, COVID hospitalizations and the infection rate continue to be a major concern. That's according to the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie, who provided an update on Thursday. 8 of the island's hospitals are now in the red zone, having reached their COVID-19 isolation capacity. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie says this means they have reached capacity greater than or equal to 84%. Those hospitals are Port Maria, Sentence Bay, Anoto Bay, Mandeville Regional, Black River, Maypen, Lionel Town, and Spanish Town.
We're now seeing an increase in daily admissions to hospitals. In the last 7 days, admissions moved from a low of 62 on Sunday, October the 3rd, to 104 yesterday, Wednesday, October the 6th, 2021.
It's why the Health Ministry is again urging Jamaicans to get vaccinated. The CMO says up to 3:30 Thursday afternoon, 809,471 doses of vaccines had been administered. Of that number, 512,405 were first doses, 265,363 were second doses, and 31,703 were single doses, Johnson & Johnson. But there's another concern. Over 100,000 persons who are due their second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine have not received it. As for those due the second dose of a Pfizer brand,
the Ministry of Health and Wellness regrets to advise that we have not yet received any new doses of the Pfizer vaccine. We had initially extended the dose interval between the first and the second dose to 42 days or 6 weeks, but now there is a further extension. Starting on Saturday, persons will be in the 6th week after the first dose. We want to advise persons that they will receive the second dose as soon as we receive supplies. They do not have to panic. They will not have to start over the course. They will have developed some immunity from the first dose.
She says persons who took the Pfizer vaccine have no need to worry, as the first dose gives them protection as high as 85%. Dr. Besesa McKenzie further notes several countries, including the US, Canada, United Kingdom, Denmark, Norway, France, have opted to use an extended period for the second dose, as they chose to offer protection to more people as early as possible. Meanwhile, from over 200 last month to just over 100 this month, COVID cases continue to decline in the Southern Regional Health Authority, which covers Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth. Krista Campbell has this TVJ News update.
COVID hospitalizations are still on the decline in Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth.
In comparison to about 3-4 weeks ago, numbers are going down, not very fast, but they are going down slightly. As of today, all the hospitals would have still got 100%, but they are not as bad as they were in September. So they are going down nicely. A few weeks ago, going over 200 regionally, but now we are just about over 100.
But some public medical facilities are in a better position than others. At the Maypen Hospital in Clarendon, there is no need for the newly opened field hospital, which was to provide an additional 40 beds for COVID patients. But at the Mandeville Regional Hospital in Manchester, the isolation wards for COVID patients are full.
43 patients in total, combination of positive and suspected patients. I think it is about 36 that is positive.
On Tuesday, J. Ray and Nephew Limited donated $4 million to help with the purchase of patient monitors, other small equipment, and medical supplies, particularly for the isolation ward at Mandeville Regional Hospital.
We have received a lot of requests from different public hospitals just to aid them in terms of their fight against this COVID pandemic. So we have identified 12 public hospitals that will be donating a total of $45 million.
Now, while he notes that the third wave of the coronavirus has shaken many residents who still doubted the reality and severity of the pandemic, CEO of Mandeville Regional, Alwyn Miller, still has this caution.
While we always seek to take the best care of persons who come to our facility, this is not how we want to meet people. So we want to encourage them to follow the protocols.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
The country's COVID-19 death toll continues to climb as 16 more people have died from the virus. The deaths occurred between August 31 and October 6. The death toll now stands at 1,980. 462 people are hospitalized with the respiratory illness. 33 patients are critically ill, while 59 are severely ill. 158 additional people have recovered from COVID-19, increasing the overall recovery rate to 53,948. There are 29,168 active cases on the island. Meanwhile, for a third consecutive day, Jamaica's positivity rate is below the 20% mark. On Thursday, the positivity rate remained at 17.7%. 205 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the last 24 hours. The overall case count is 85,680. One public health specialist is suggesting that the health ministry administer the vaccine doses about to go to waste to persons who need a booster shot. Dr. Alveston Bailey says boosters are usually given 6 months after vaccination. He says despite the ongoing research on whether or not it should be given, he sees no harm in doing it after this period.
The boosters have been given in Israel, they have been given in the United States, and they've been given in other European countries. My argument is that even though 6 months is an ideal time to get boosters, if we have a vaccine challenge in Jamaica, we call it a vaccine shock, where we might have to waste vaccines, it is far more sensible from a public health point of view to give the boosters early than to waste.
Dr. Bailey also calls on the Ministry of Health to increase efforts in personalizing the message for COVID-19 so that it can target people in specific communities across the island.
Today, no one has actually gone into the community to determine what are their fears and anxieties. We need to address these concerns and then correct them, because it is primarily driven by misinformation, by religious fatalism. It is driven by fear of the needle and fear of the vaccine's side effects itself.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Narcotics police on Thursday seized almost $9 million worth of ganja in Portland. Superintendent in charge of the Portland Police Division, Kenneth Chin, says the team conducted a targeted raid sometime after 3:30 p.m. along a beach in Boston District.
During the raid, a 28-feet twin-engine fiber boat and the general area was searched. As a result of the search, about 3 knitted bags and 13 large garbage bags were found containing 93 parcels of ganja packaged for export with a weight of about 930 pounds with street value of about $6.5 million.
Superintendent Chin says the Portland police are following strong leads and arrests are expected in the coming days. He says the CJ is yet another dent in the guns for drugs trade.
Warning drug dealers and other criminals that the Portland Division is not a safe place to conduct illegal activities, and our intelligence machinery and road policing activities are in place to intercept your unlawful efforts.
The prosecution in the anti-litter case against House Speaker Marissa Dalrymple-Philibert and her 2 co-accused requested more time to prepare when the matter was heard at the St. Anne Parish Court yesterday. Janella Presus has the details.
Thursday, October 7 at the St. Anne Parish Court.
We are firmly of the view that this is a case that will be contested and they insist on their innocence, and they are of the view that they will be vindicated.
Attorney at law Peter Champagny QC, speaking with journalists sometime after his client, House Speaker Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, her son Giovanni Philibert, and her gardener Simon Sanchez appeared before a senior parish judge. The three are charged with littering in a public space. In addition to Mr. Champagny, the accused are also being represented by Tom Tavares Finson QC. The matter has been fixed for mention on December 8, 2021.
It is anticipated that before that date, or certainly on that date, that the prosecution would have completed its case file. We were led to believe initially that the file was complete, but based on what was outlined in court today, it was obvious that there were some other bits of information on the Crown's case that was required for their purposes.
The litter charges stem from an August 15 incident where the accused were seen dumping garbage at an illegal site in the Runaway Bay area in St. Anne. They were approached by two police officers who informed them that they were in breach of the anti-litter law. Mrs. Philibert is said to have introduced herself to the officers and offered to pick up the trash. The three were, however, taken to the Runaway Bay police station where they were processed and charged.
I would not wish to go into the particulars of it, but suffice to say that there is a defense to the charge.
So until the December mention date, the judge extended the bail for the House Speaker and her co-accused. Shanella Precious, TVJ News.
Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck says he will re-examine the fees to be paid to attorneys in the One Done Gang trial. Sandra Williams has more.
Attorneys representing the 33 accused in the One Done Gang trial have complained about the fees they will receive. The attorneys are also worried that no payment will be made if the trial goes beyond the Michaelmas term, which ends in December, as a cap has been placed on the legal fees. Mr. Chuck, who met with the attorneys yesterday, spoke with TVJ News following the talks. The Justice Minister said while he understands the concerns raised, he's not making any promises.
Because if the trial should go a year, it would really be unfair just to pay them for 6 months. So when we put together these fees, we didn't really expect that the trial should go beyond 3 to 6 months. But they anticipate that this may go beyond 6 months. And if it does, it is a matter that needs to be considered.
Mr. Chuck says it could take several weeks before a decision is made whether to extend payments.
It's happening for another 4 to 6 weeks when we examine what our budget is like in the Ministry of Justice, how much remain in our legal aid budget. We had anticipated about $50 million to be paid in this trial. Is it possible that we can find another $10 or $20 million to pay some of the expenses? It is a matter which we will be looking at within the Ministry of Justice, because if we go to Cabinet to ask for extra money, the likelihood is we won't get it. So we'd have to find it in the Ministry of Justice. So to be able to say to Cabinet, we should be able to afford additional expenses.
The One Done Gang trial, which started last month, has been postponed until October 19. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
One healthcare professional is calling for more public education efforts to intensify and promote best practices in maternal care. Registered midwife assigned to the St. James Health Department, Simone Cooper Bernard, explains that the lack of knowledge about antenatal and postnatal care among expectant mothers is a serious problem. Sandra Williams reports.
The care a pregnant woman and her unborn baby receives before, during, and after birth can affect their safety, well-being, and the child's development. It's why lead midwife at the Granville Health Center in St. James, Simone Cooper Bernard, says antenatal and postnatal care are important. Maternal care usually starts 3 months into the pregnancy. However, Mrs. Cooper Bernard laments that many pregnant women sometimes wait until they are 6 to 7 months pregnant before going to seek antenatal care.
I've had quite a few mothers who turn up to clinic with me at 37, 38 weeks, they have never been to antenatal clinic. When you ask them, where have you been? They have been at home since the pandemic. They have not come out of their house. And, persons have not had any antenatal care at all. And they turn up to the labor ward. In labor, active labor, you can't do anything.
She says this is unacceptable given the delicate nature of babies and the complications that can occur without proper care. Mrs. Cooper Bernard, who has been a registered midwife with the St. James Health Department for more than 5 years, says antenatal care allows healthcare providers to detect any irregularities from early.
For example, a baby that has gross dysmorphic features. If we had not done an ultrasound and normally scan and stuff like that, we would not have known. Right? A mother who has certain developing issues, antenatal care will let you know that something is not right, and then you do the necessary referral.
Postnatal care, which begins right after birth, is equally important.
When she returns at 6 weeks clinic, she will be doing her pap smear, and of course we want to rule out cervical cancer because changes would have happened during the pregnancy, and we need to see what is going on with the cervix and in the vagina after post-delivery.
Mrs. Cooper Bernard is calling for more public education about maternal care, as she believes it could help to reduce the country's maternal and child mortality rates.
I think more needs to be done in terms of education during the not just at the clinics and the doctor's office. I think we need to do a public, we need to have, just as how you have other things coming on the media, the newspapers, the television, the different channels, we need to have things like these being circulated, get the midwives involved in the media so we can touch base with the ladies one-on-one.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Multinational travel and tourism company TUI is expected to restart flights to the island this month after suspending them in August due to the UK government's advice to residents against non-essential travel to the island due to COVID threats. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says, quote, "Today's announcement is a major development for Jamaica's tourism industry. For us in Jamaica, the UK market is crucial, and so we eagerly anticipate once again welcoming visitors from the United Kingdom to our destination." TUI's first flight will be next weekend. And it's now time for the Business Minute. There has been a $75 million increase in Jamaica's net international reserves, NIR. In its monthly update on Thursday, the Bank of Jamaica reported that the NIR was at $3.9 billion at the end of September. The reserves could cover 46 weeks of goods imports, and the Cabinet has approved the sale of the commercial assets of the Cocoa Industry Board. Information Minister Vivian Williams says a team will be appointed to oversee the divestment. And that's it for the Business Minute for this week. It's now time for the top regional and international stories.
The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, has launched a new portal to improve access to data and analysis on health inequalities in the Americas, including the Caribbean. In a statement, PAHO said the portal is part of an initiative to track Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 3 indicators and inequalities, which have been further exacerbated during the past year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. PAHO explained that the portal aims to increase accountability in the region when it comes to monitoring progress towards SDG 3 and will serve as a one-stop shop for data collection, analysis, and evidence to enable governments, health systems, and other organizations to take informed action towards achieving the targets. On the international scene, at least 20 people were killed and 90 others were wounded when a blast ripped through a Shia mosque in northern Afghanistan on Friday. An official with Doctors Without Borders said some of those killed and wounded were brought to the NGO's facility in the city of Kunduz, and that the number of dead people could be higher. According to Kunduz provincial spokesman, a suicide attacker was responsible for the blast, which took place inside Saeedabad Mosque during Friday prayers. And that's it for the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report. Simon Preston is here.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The Reggae Boys' hopes of qualifying for the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar has experienced another dent as they were blanked 2-0 by the United States in Austin, Texas on Thursday.
Later, as he produced a save from Shamar Nicholson. With 5 minutes to go before the break, Jamal Lowe, who scored against the Americans in March, gave more work to Turner, who pushed his shot away from goal. And on the stroke of half-time, Shamar Nicholson's header was steered wide of goal. These moments were the best of the lot from the Jamaicans in this game, as the Americans made them pay in the second half. The breakthrough came in the 49th minute as an unmarked Ricardo Pepe headed the ball past Andre Blake. This was the 18-year-old's second goal for the Americans in only his second appearance. 13 minutes later, Pepe returned for his second of the game to give the Americans a 2-0 lead. This was Jamaica's third defeat in 4 games in the Octagon.
Yeah, there's plenty of games left and a lot of points to play for. Obviously, we want to get as many points as early as we can on the board, but like I said, it's a long road ahead, and we know what we're capable of doing. So obviously, still full of confidence and looking to put it right in the next game.
The Reggae Boys will next be in action on Sunday against Canada at the National Stadium. Jamaica will end the October FIFA window against Honduras away on October 13.
Other games in the final round of World Cup qualifying, Mexico were held to a 1-1 draw by Canada at the Azteca Stadium on Thursday. Jorge Sanchez scored for the Mexicans in the 21st minute before Jonathan Osorio equalized for the Canadians in the 42nd minute. In San Salvador, El Salvador clipped Panama 1-0. Enrico Hernandez scored for El Salvador in the 37th minute. And over in San Pedro Sula, Honduras battled to a 0-0 draw with Costa Rica. Across the Atlantic we go now as France will meet Spain in the final of the UEFA Nations League as the defending World Cup champions recorded a come-from-behind 3-2 victory over Belgium in Turin on Thursday. Karim Benzema, Kylian Mbappe and Theo Hernandez were the goal scorers for the French after they were trailing 2-0 in the first half. France will play Spain in the final at the San Siro in Milan on Sunday. The third-place playoff between Italy and Belgium will also be played on the same day. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it is over to you.
Thanks, Simon. And that's the Midday News for this week. I'm Ashane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.